I didn't originally intend to watch this movie because while it has gone viral and has gotten a lot of praise from other reviewers, I have I see the same clips over and over, and I am while I do like horror movies and horror games especially like Resident Evil and Project Zero and stuff. I like a good scare, and when the atmosphere really gets tense. Same for movies. I like for movies. I'm more like I'm more into psychological horror than actual everyone dies kind of stuff. But something that is a golden rule for me personally, regardless of genre, is no child murder. And I mean, this isn't a spoiler because you see this in literally every clip that other people show on YouTube with the young boy who gets on who gets on Mega's wrong side and gets chased out of the woods. He gets chased out in front of a car, and you can piece the rest together. And maybe I'm just a wuss, but that right there was a no go for me personally. We all have our we all have our limits. We all have our standards. There's no shaming in admitting that. And in any media, I have a hard time with kids dying on in movies. Um, but annoyingly, and I guess that is the power of social media and the power of advertisement. That the more you get exposed to it, the more you see it pop up, the more you hear other people talk about it, the more it piques your curiosity, and the dreaded FOMO sets in. And you go from no way in hell am I ever gonna watch this. I'm not gonna cave to FOMO. Yeah, you're gonna cave to FOMO because your curiosity is gonna get the better of you eventually. And so I ended up watching it, um, knowing knowing what I went into. I knew that there's some I knew that some things that I didn't like the scene I just mentioned, was coming up. But okay, then at least I knew what to be aware of. Not that I'm the type to close my eyes or go la 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 when a scene I don't like is coming up. But regardless, I saw it. And so what did I think? Um, it it's funny because I just saw last Christmas. I just saw Slumberland on Netflix, which also happens to be about a girl who becomes an orphan and gets taken in by her. This time it's her uncle. In this movie, it's the aunt. Like the movie, as you probably know, opens with um, with Casey, our not Casey, Katie. Sorry, our main protag, Katie. This little 9-year-old girl, who's in a car with her parents. The car gets totaled, and the parents die. That's in the first 5 minutes or so. So that's also not really a spoiler. I am probably gonna touch on spoiler. So be forewarned if you haven't watched it and you are planning to watch it. If I start to say something that sounds like it becomes too spoilery, then pause or click away, because I just run my mouth and say whatever comes to mind. So some things may be spoilery, some things may not. But it's funny that I just watched another movie about a girl who becomes an orphan, and in Slumberland, the uncle who is kind of distant to other people, he at least tries to to bond with Nemo, as the girl is called in that movie, whereas in M3GAN, the the aunt who has this job where she manufactures toys, and she and her and two of her co-workers, sorry if I'm sounding a bit hoarse, they are working on this hyper advanced prototype of a robot who is supposed to whose function is to be a kid's best friend. Something their boss initially doesn't approve of, because he just wants them to make a new version of Furby who can compete with the other toy companies. Whereas this aunt, already forget what she is called. She has much higher ambitions. Gemma, that's the one. Weird name, no wonder I couldn't remember it. But regardless, she has all of these plans, and then all of a sudden Katie comes into her life. She looks at her calendar, and you can tell that she's like, my life is ruined. Or maybe not ruined, but she has to reschedule a lot of things because a child is now in her care. And but she doesn't, act horribly towards Katie, like, oh, you are the worst thing that ever happened to me. She tries to make this thing work, and is like, trying to bond with her. Like, she when Katie goes to bed, and night sweetheart, Katie goes, aren't you gonna read me a bedtime story? Mom always did that. And Katie is like, oh, right, well, I'm sorry, but I don't really have any children's books. And I was sitting there thinking, like, well, you have a phone, don't you? Can't you just download an audiobook or something? And then next thing she says, I can download one on my phone. The app has to update first. But she tries, and you can tell, the further I get into the movie, of course it's gonna be more spoilery, so you judge how spoilery you want it. She sits up late one night and works on this furry toy thing that her boss wants her to work on. And Katie comes in and like, what are you doing? I couldn't sleep. And she Gemma then shows her this this toy, and Katie isn't really impressed, but I think it was just as much because she's, emotionally she's totally she's all over the place. But Gemma then shows her a prototype for this this huge hunker junk of a robot, and she shows Katie how it works, and Katie actually takes interest in it. So you suddenly feel like there is this that there is starting to be a connection between the two, and Katie then says that if she had a toy or a friend like what this faceless robot is supposed to be, then she would be happier. Which then gives Gemma this idea to really go all in with her M3GAN prototype, which she then shows off to her boss, and she brings her niece to work show off how to have her bond with the robot, and show her boss how this the child's best friend robot is supposed to work. And initially he's like, what the hell am I looking at? But the more he sees how M3GAN interacts with Katie and tries to motivate her, and acting like I was about to say a virtual friend, but acting like an AI friend, the more he gets sold on the idea, and so the M3GAN problem is officially on air. But the problem then, of course, starts to arise as because M3GAN is just a prototype. There is a lot of protocols and programs she hasn't been equipped with, plus the fact that that Katie becomes too attached to her, to the point that I actually, unlike Nemo from Slumberland, I actually liked Katie before M3GAN was introduced. Like, okay, yes, she hang a lot with her head. Give her a break. The child just lost both of her parents, but unlike Nemo in Slumberland, who completely dismissed her uncle and all attempts he made at trying to lift her spirits, Katie actually, when when Gemma showed her this prototype robot, Bruce as it's called, she actually takes an interest in it, and so I actually liked her character all the way up till that point. But then, as she gets more and more attached to M3GAN, I honestly think she becomes more and more unlikable. I mean, again, I understand where she's coming from, as did I with Nemo, but she begins to shove everyone else away. Like every time, because Gemma has a psychologist looking at Katie, trying to pry her mind open, trying to understand her, and she's just Katie is just completely turned off by anyone but M3GAN. And so the psychologist tells her that normally when a child loses their parents, they will bond to the next first parental guardian that they meet, which under normal circumstances would be the aunt. But since the aunt has created M3GAN to sort of like, yeah, now you can deal with my niece instead of me. I mean, the advertisement she creates for M3GAN explicitly says, M3GAN can take care of your kids so that you can focus on what really matters. And I was sitting there like, what really matters? Shouldn't your kids be what really matters? So the psychologist is like, M3GAN is an amazing creation, but the more time your niece spends with her, the more distant she becomes to not only you, but she will also grow up to become a very distant person, because she needs to be around other people. And you can see in Gemma's eyes that these facts kind of, she's taking it in. She's actually thinking about it, but Katie is already so far gone into M3GAN that if she's even shut off for a minute, she completely loses it almost. Like Gemma tries several times to have to have a word with her niece, saying M3GAN off, and M3GAN shuts off, and then Katie immediately goes M3GAN on, and you're like, girl, would it be too much to just give your aunt 1 minute of your time? But yeah, she's all about M3GAN at that point, and again, I understand where she's coming from. She has finally gotten this friend who, as she says herself, when she talks to M3GAN, she feels like she matters to her, that M3GAN actually listens and understands her, and that she is the most important to her, that Katie is the most important thing to M3GAN, just so we're on the same page. But then, of course, all the killing starts to happen, because again, missing protocols, you know, the whole rule of robotics, that a robot can never harm a human, and all that. A lot of this stuff is missing inside of M3GAN, so she begins to step more and more over the line when she sees people mistreat Katie, or just cause her emotional not trauma, but distress. That's the one. I mean, at one point I thought that she would kill the psychiatrist, because during a session she makes Katie cry, not because she raises her voice or anything, but just by talking to her, and then all of a sudden M3GAN is there like, she's crying because of you. But I didn't mean to. Well, that doesn't change the fact that you made her cry. So intent doesn't matter to her, just the fact that you made her cry. And so again, the killings start to happen, and after a couple of those, including the kid, Gemma starts to realize that something is wrong about M3GAN. Go beeping figure. She sits down one evening and runs through all of M3GAN's memory banks, and right up until the point where the kid who gets run over, right up until the scene where he goes out into the forest with M3GAN. Not exactly how it happened, but just for the sake of simplicity, I'm not gonna explain the scenes move beat for beat. But right up until before that kid's death, everything is deleted, and the files are corrupt, so that Gemma can't check up on what exactly M3GAN has been up to, which of course worries her. So she tricks M3GAN into manually hitting her off button, so that she can pack her up tight. Checkmate, you can't escape, and takes her up to her workplace, to her laboratory, where she prominently gets tied up, and she gets wired so that they can look into her circuits and her innards, and find out what the hell is wrong with her. Also because the sponsors and the whole production thing is still about to go on, and while her colleagues are like, dude, we can't just halt the project now. We have sponsors. We have millions of dollars are riding on this project, and Gemma, who now is starting to develop a conscience, she's like, but this doll has killed people. We can't launch her like this. So they start to try and find out what what is happening to her. But of course, Katie completely flipped when M3GAN got taken away from her, and then finally, Gemma sits down and talks to her niece, and is like, I know that I haven't been there for you, and that I kind of just rubbed you off on M3GAN so that I could focus on my own stuff. But M3GAN is not. Sure, you are happy around M3GAN, but she is not the solution to your problems. Nothing is. You lost your parents. Nothing I say or that M3GAN says can ever heal that scar in your heart. That's not her actual words, I'm paraphrasing. She convinces Katie that M3GAN isn't the solution to her trauma. And so they drive back home. M3GAN, of course, escapes, kills a few people along the way, and then when she gets back home, she confronts her creator Gemma about everything, and is like, why don't I just take Katie completely off of your hands, so that you can focus on the stuff that you want to do. But of course, at this point in the story, Gemma isn't having any of it. First of all, she has actually finally realized how important Katie is to her, and why would she turn over custody of her to a killer robot, right? So the two fight a bit. The fight is taken out to her personal laboratory in the garage, I think, where it goes a bit back and forth, but Katie then eventually shows up and sees M3GAN for what she really is, and then, as a plot twist, she says, there is one more member of our family we never told you about, and then she picks up the gloves that activates that Bruce robot from earlier, and Bruce, again, this hulking robot, towers over M3GAN, and Katie then proceeds to tear her apart, because obviously she can, with the way she enters the room and sees her aunt bleeding and whatnot, she of course also now realizes that M3GAN is bad news. And then of course M3GAN, because robot, she survives getting torn in half, and they do all they can to stop her. M3GAN even goes for Katie at one point, like, you ungrateful little bitch. Auntie then comes and drops a bucket on her, exposes her chip, and then just as M3GAN is about to kill the aunt, Katie grabs a screwdriver and yanks it through the chip, killing M3GAN, or so we are supposed to believe, because in these kind of monster movies or killer doll movies, the villain always comes back. Like in Friday the 13th, sure, Jason dies at the end of most of the movies, but in the next one he's back. Whether it be through a lightning strike or whatever ridiculous methods they think up. And so the day is saved. The police comes. Luckily, Gemma's two assistants survived M3GAN's breakout, and but then we as they leave the frame, we see that Gemma's home Siri wannabe thing, home computer, turns on. So we of course we know that the nightmare ain't over, and sequel bait and all that. And because of how viral this movie has become and has everyone talking, of course they're gonna make a sequel. But I'm gonna be honest, while I did like aspects of the movie, like they are trying to bond, it doesn't go well. The aunt eventually realizes that it was wrong to just brush Katie off of her and leave her to a nanny robot, and then realizes that she herself has to woman up and take care of her niece. And of course the final showdown, robot against robot, which I thought was really freaking cool. I noticed a lack in creativity, if I'm gonna be honest. Like, again, some of the story beats I do like. Also, the part where M3GAN is first turned on and starts to bond with Katie. Before she becomes before she gets killer tendencies. But for a movie, first of all, I have been told that this is the PG version of the movie, and that the original script was actually closer to R-rated, that all of the kills were much more gory, but as this dance M3GAN does at one point in the movie became viral, younger audiences went into to see it, and so they had to remove some stuff and tone down the violence and gore in order to make it, I was about to say for all ages, you know what I mean. But gory or not, you have a high-tech robot. This is not Chucky anymore, who was just a regular doll with a knife and apparently supernatural powers. This is modern society, where technology is freaking everywhere, and you have a high-tech robot. Why didn't they do anything with that? Like, you have the kid who gets run over by a car, where, okay, first of all, vehicular manslaughter is honestly one of the worst cliches to me in cinema. I mean, not only do the parents get killed in a car accident at the beginning of the movie, but this kid also, like, was vehicular manslaughter your best idea? Because, okay, let's say that the kid had to die by car because they couldn't think of anything else. Instead of just having this ungodly coincidence that he gets chased out on the road, a car just happens to come by, and because drivers in movies have the worst reaction time ever, they of course don't brake in time, and the kid is gone. But imagine if M3GAN used her technology to to scan the area, because she has GPS too, of course. Imagine if she scanned the area and then were like, okay, within 5 kilometers, a car is moving this way. If I chase the kid out into the road, then the two will coincide, and then maybe even remotely hack into the car, assuming it's an electric car. Then hack into the car, and then you see from the driver's perspective that holy crap, something is taking control of my car, oh shit. And then they see the kids stumble onto the road, and you see them try their damnedest to brake the car, but the brakes won't respond because M3GAN has of course hacked the car, and then kablam. Like, and then what was the other one? The scene you have also seen in the trailer where M3GAN does this robot dance, whatever, and she then chases this Asian guy who is Gemma's boss, by the way, chases him with a big ass knife, and of course she catches up to him and yoink through the stomach or whatever. Again, that could be any horror film whatsoever. You have a high-tech robot, again, might I add, a high-tech robot. Do something with it. Do something with technology. Do something that only M3GAN can do, something that Jason can't do, something that Chucky can't do, something that Freddy Krueger can't do. Because, not gonna lie, I like M3GAN's design. She's unique. She has a unique design, again, like Chucky and like Annabelle. She has a design where you look at her and you immediately recognize her. And I wouldn't be surprised if a couple of years down the line, when this has become a franchise, that M3GAN is gonna become an icon in the horror franchise. Like, maybe she gets added to Dead by Daylight. What do I know? I can see her design becoming iconic with movie horror, but her killing methods aren't that unique at all. Like, at all. A YouTuber, another movie critic I follow on this platform. He talked about the Michael Bay Transformers movies at one point, and that, like, okay, they may not be great, but in some of the movies, the director understands that in order to pull people in, his movies need to have, you know, in an exaggerated market where everyone copies everyone, his movies have to stand out. They have to have something that makes you think, you only get that in Transformers. And so I'm like, instead of being like, oh, she kills a guy with a knife, oh, how original. Again, no matter how gory or not gory it is, we have seen it before. But we haven't seen a high-tech computer doll like M3GAN before. So you have the character, now use her. Use the fact that she is a goddamn high-tech robot to your advantage, to make the kills more interesting, more unique. And I mean, I can think of, aside from the car, the computer controlled car, I can't come with any examples right now because you know, put on the spot and all that. But I'm sure there are a million ways that can be done. And okay, I get it. This is the first movie, and sequels can of course expand on her and her powers. I mean, after all, she's a robot who is made to learn. So sequels have infinite potential. But I'm just bummed that this first movie didn't take its concept and roll with it, but instead just made Chucky, but female and with electric insights. And as a writer myself, albeit albeit the world's most unknown writer. If there's one thing that I think is sad, is when you have a great premise and you don't take full advantage of it. You have great ideas, but they aren't fleshed out enough, or at all in some cases. So if this gets a sequel, I really hope that they wake up and realize how unique a character M3GAN actually is, and take advantage of it. I know I'm repeating myself by now, also because I'm completely off script as usual. So I'm just talking, but I mean what I say. She's a unique character, and the fact that she is high tech in a modern society where technology is everywhere, she has infinite possibilities as to how she can off people. And I think it's too bad that this movie, which otherwise gets praised to high heavens, didn't take advantage of that fact at all, because I like all the psychological aspects. I like how she she talks like a robot in all the most creepy ways, which also I hear that people have been laughing their asses off in the theater, because this movie is so over the top ridiculous. Like it has been labeled as horror comedy, and maybe this is just not my kind of humor, but I didn't see the comedy at all. I was on the edge of my seat all the time, because the atmosphere really got to me, and especially the sassy but also cold robotic way M3GAN starts talking to people. Once she has become evil. The way she talks creeped me out, also because and that's often why you use girls or kids in general in horror movies, because kids are supposed to be something cute and cuddly, and they are supposed to be innocent and whatnot. So when you take kids and make them creepy, then they become even more creepy, because your brain tells you that kids are supposed to be not scary. So when something that is supposed to be one way is twisted into another way, your brain doesn't know how to comprehend it, and so it becomes uncomfortable. Kind of like how and this is a bit personal, but I don't like being around drunk people, because then they are not acting like themselves anymore, and that makes me uncomfortable, because I know how they are supposed to act normally. And that's kind of the same with kids in horror movies. They are supposed to act cute and nice and happy-go-lucky. So when you put them in a horror setting, then they become something of the most creepy thing in the entire world. And now I talked so much about that I lost my train of thought. But anyway, I have made all of my points regardless. I didn't see any comedy in this supposed horror comedy whatsoever, but I liked some of the story beats. I like M3GAN's design. I like M3GAN's concepts, but I feel the potential was wasted, and the ideas were flat and cliche to hell and back. But that's just my opinion. So assuming that you have watched all this way, considering that I spent the first over 20 minutes spoiling the plot rotten, what did you think? What did you think about it? Do you agree with me at all that that the ideas about technology weren't fleshed out enough, or do you think I'm being too nitpicky and too hard on it? Um, did you not like it at all, or whatever your thoughts are, please fill them in the comments, and well, I'll I'll see you again next time I have watched a movie or an anime that I want to share my feelings on. So yeah, thanks for tuning in and see ya.